Newzroom Afrika's reporter Pelane is at the Beitbridge border post. Pelane, give us some insight now as to what is happening at the border post. I mean, it's just a few minutes after the curfew has been implemented.
A few minutes after the curfew has been implemented, of course, and little movement, even though there's still some at least, but there is now little movement here at the border post in Beitbridge, Limpopo. And we are now told that those who were looking to go through, even though they are essential services transporters, they will then have to wait for 6 o'clock in the morning before they can be processed and into the Zimbabwean border post. And we also do understand, having talked to the Department of Home Affairs just a short while ago after our last crossing, and now we do know that on the other side, the hundreds of people that we have seen earlier on the day on a video that were seemingly no mask worn and as well as no social distancing, they have been dispersed. They have been forced into a queue. Some of them who had a COVID-19 results have been processed and let into the country, and some of them who were positive have been asked to go back and quarantine, and those who had no documents whatsoever have also been turned back. And we also do understand that there have been those who have been barred from entering South Africa for at least 5 years because they tried to produce fraudulent COVID-19 results. So those are some of the things that happened here at the border post. We are told from tomorrow we should expect very minimal movement coming into South Africa from this particular border post because Zimbabwe in itself does not allow any exit or entry for any reason besides that of essential services provision, and that in itself says the border will now be operating at its most minimal, and some of the officials here will then be shifted to the Limpopo border post in between Mozambique and South Africa in the Nelspruit area, where of course people will now then be able to be screened there, because those who are coming from Malawi will be forced to use that particular border post in order to gain entry into South Africa. South Africa is not on a hard lockdown, but from Malawi you cannot enter Zimbabwe, therefore, which is of course a shortcut to South Africa. So now you'll have to go all the way to Zimbabwe and then to the Limpopo border post to make your way into South Africa. So that's what we are told now. Less movement after 9 o'clock. The president did say that it's a strict curfew and no one is expected to be on the streets. But there are truck drivers, of course, will be forced to spend the night outside the gates until, of course, 6 o'clock in the morning when the curfew is lifted.
Pelane, Beitbridge is arguably South Africa's busier border post, or busiest border post. We heard from the Home Affairs Minister, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, having said that the bottlenecks are on the side of Zimbabwe. This comes as it seems like an apparent blame game here. Just give us a sense of what authorities have to deal with there.
Well, there's a lot that authorities had to deal with already, taking back to our earlier statement that the army had to be brought in to ensure that the earlier congestion that you saw on social media or videos taken earlier on the morning showing a lot and hundreds of people gathered just outside and on the side of the Beitbridge coming into South Africa. It showed you that there was a congestion of some sort, and of course the Home Affairs Department in itself is saying that as far as they're concerned, they're not going to allow anybody just to come into South Africa without being properly screened and of course producing the right documents, and hence the long queues on the other side of Zimbabwe. And now that brings us to see that currently there is that need that they fast track the matters and ensure that the people are processed. And unfortunately processing currently would now stop at 9 o'clock and will resume once more, we understand, at 6 o'clock in the morning, where people would be allowed, the last batch of the people who perhaps are now still stuck inside the border post will then have to produce and be processed for them to be allowed entry into South Africa legally. Having produced those particular legal documents of your COVID-19 test, a negative one, and younger than 48 hours old, and of course at the same time having produced the relevant documents to make access into South Africa.
Before I let you go, I want to speak about the detection of these fraudulent or fake documents. I mean, we heard from the health MEC in Limpopo, Dr. Popira Matuba, in recent days, speaking about the detection of up to 50 fraudulent documents and saying that people are so desperate to a point where they are buying these documents for up to $50 US. Judging by your assessment there, or speak with your conversations with officials there, are they picking up more on these fraudulent documents?
That's the sense that we get from Siyakoza today when we were talking to him just a little bit, a short while ago actually, and he was telling us that on the number of people that you've seen on that particular video earlier, showing scores of people coming through, trying to gain access into South Africa. Some of them had produced illegal documents, should I say fraudulent documents of COVID-19 tests, and those particular ones have been barred from entering South Africa for at least 5 years. So now that shows you that there was a detection, and from that detection there was then consequence as far as officials here in the border implementing them, and the implementation of those consequences also included the barring of entry into South Africa for at least 5 years in Tlantla.
Well, thanks there to our man on the ground, Pelane Phakgadi, who's continuing to keep a close watch on developments at the Beitbridge border.